Um, Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Building, Zoning, and Economic Development meeting, Wednesday, September 25th. It is now 4:03. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Chairperson Patty Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Shweta Bade. Alderman Carl Franco.
Here.
Alderman Mike Seville.
Here.
Alderman Bill Donnell.
Here.
4 present.
Thank you. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, 24-0698, and approval of the minutes from the Building, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee that was held on September 11th, 2024. I had a motion by Alderman Seville.
Second.
A second by Alderman Franco. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion goes forward. Let the record show that Alderwoman Bade just showed up. Welcome. Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We do not have anyone signed up today.
Thank you. Yes, we just picked it up at,
Yes, it was at the table.
it,
We didn't see anything circulate, I apologize. But we would like to make public comment.
What does legal say? They have until
Legal?
4 o'clock.
I believe you were here before 4 o'clock. You want, legal?
They're not on the sheet.
These folks are not on the sheet to do public comment, but we can make the revision if you
Yeah, Patrick
are-
Council, Assistant
so-
Corporate Councilor Aurora. I would just see who wants to speak. The three, so 1, 2, and 3. And
Okay.
I would just call those 3. Anyone else is too late.
Okay, so.
I mean, they were all here beforehand,
Yes.
so they were in time.
Absolutely.
Yep,
So
fine.
just so you know, future reference, there was a sign-in sheet. You missed it. That's okay. We can do this at committee, at COW, at council level. We wouldn't be able to do this. So as you approach, we'll take you one at a time. If you would please just give us your name, you can go ahead. So clerk, could you please read the preamble for public comment?
Yes, pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, all persons shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under the rules established and recorded by the council. Under our rules, any person may address the BZE committee for up to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for all public comment. No person other than the timekeeper or the chair, for the purpose of maintaining order, may interrupt a person recognized for public comment during his or her comments. Members of the BZE committee shall not engage with nor respond to a speaker during the time set aside for public comment. Staff is directed to follow up with members of the public with respect to any concerns raised during public comment. And first speaker.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and have the first speaker. We'll start ladies first. If you would come up to the podium. And you got-
I want to address
Oh,
the
just, if
Oh,
you would just please
sorry.
give us your name.
Diane Muterspa, Mutersbaughh.
Diane, you have 3 minutes, beginning now.
I want to talk about the fire department that's supposed to go in a residential area. I live at 2425 Nan Street. Third house on the left as you're going down. We don't have sidewalks. It's a residential area. It's, from what I've learned, the first 3 homes, that would be the space that a fire truck would be coming down. Fire trucks, the ladder trucks I've read are between 75 feet and 100 feet long, which would be as great as a semi-truck with a 53-foot dry van, if not greater than that. We have little kids that ride bicycles up and down the street. We have 2 streets, if you know where this is located. Very small residential area. But what I'm getting at is to have a semi-truck come constantly in and out of that area. It is just the wrong move to put that kind of danger in our neighborhood with our children. Bilter Road's very busy, and this is going to just add to the amount of activity that is on that road. And the other thing is, the fire department they want to build is really too small for the property. it has been pointed out to the planning committee that what they want to do is they want to change variances and everything just to squish in a fire department that is really basically too small for that property. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you. You have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. May we have the next speaker? You may go ahead, sir.
Michael Muterspaw, 2425 Nan Street.
Michael, could you please spell your last name for us? since we didn't-
Mutersbaughh, just like my wife. Same last name.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and you have 3 minutes beginning now.
I really have a problem. I've lived in this neighborhood for close to 40 years. City of Aurora has come out there, dropped an outlet mall in our lap. We listen to car alarms going off constantly over there. The traffic is terrible. Black Friday, we can't even get into our neighborhood. The police will not let us come in because they want to reroute traffic and everything. Takes me a half hour to get home from a mile away because of the traffic reroute. We've got Beverly, where they built all the commercial buildings to the north of us. It's just not the right place. The city, I think, bought this lot 10 years ago with the intention of putting a fire department there. And at this point, it seems to me that the city is dug in like a tick on a hound dog. They just don't want to consider anything else. As everybody on this panel knows, all the aldermen here, you know that the city just bought 50 acres to the east. There is already a retention pond there that could be used for the fire department instead of having to put a vault in for this new fire department. The deputy chief testified the other night that they would have really have liked to have had a training room and all this other stuff. But the parcel is so small that they can only get so much of a building on it. So they've nixed the training center and all that. My thought is, why go in and build half or 3/4 of what is really needed on a supersized small lot when you've got all that property down there to the east, just past Pepsi-Cola. And now I understand the city has just bought a bunch of lots on the north side of Bilter Road, basically from Beverly out to almost the county line. I can't see why the city can't have their new fire department the way they want it on a bigger lot just down the street, 1,500 feet away. It don't make no sense. I can't understand. And then the setbacks that they're asking for and what they're doing to Bilter Road, what they're doing to some of the neighbors. Some of my neighbors, Bilter Road is going to end up 5-6 feet off of their front doors. They're not even going to be able to park in their driveway, 2 of the houses on Bilter Road. They're not even going to be able to park in their driveway because they'll be over the sidewalk. And one of the neighbors, Wellhead, is going to be over the new sidewalk when they redo Bilter Road. It just don't make any sense. I just can't believe that the city is pushing this hard on this, especially when they have all that land that they could move it to, and response times would not be affected at all if it's 1,500 feet down the road. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have our final speaker, please.
Paul Haas, H-O-S-S, 2460 Nan Street. I'm here on behalf of my mom, Pat Haas, who lives at 2460 Nan Street. The testimony that was given at the public hearing by the City of Aurora was that this piece of property needs zoning relief, not just the conditional use and the rezoning, but the modifications, because the property, by their own testimony, is too small to accommodate the prototype no-frills fire department that they want to put on the property. The assistant fire chief indicated that this was a scaled-down fire house because they just didn't have enough room to be able to put what they'd like on the property. In addition, the county engineer indicated that this will be a vault system for their stormwater as opposed to a conventional storm sewer system or stormwater system, because there just wasn't enough land to put a conventional system on here, because that would take up more property. I've identified and I testified to the fact that there are a lot of the fire stations in the city of Aurora are in residential zoning areas. We looked at all of those fire stations, not one fire station has access on a residential roadway where the fire trucks are accessing the fire station. All of the other fire stations in the city of Aurora either come from a collector street or coming off of a residential street where it's a two-way access point. So this would be the first fire station on a greenfield site where the city of Aurora will actually have fire trucks coming down a residential street and entering onto the property. The petitioner, the city of Aurora, testified that, once again, the setbacks are necessary to reduce or modify the setbacks. The setbacks that they're modifying are residential setbacks. They are the same setbacks that the city of Aurora requires for a single-family home. Those setbacks are 30 feet in the front and 30 feet in the rear. Those are the setbacks for a single-family home. This is a 29,000 square foot industrial building, not a single-family home, and yet they're seeking variations in the front and rear yards to more than half of what the requirements are, 11 feet in the front and approximately 8 feet in the rear. There is landscaping that is being proposed on the west side of the property, but that landscaping is going to be landscaping around a vaulted detention system. I would submit to you that this piece of property, although the county or the city owns it, is just not large enough to accommodate all of the things necessary to put a fire station on this property, and that is based on the testimony that was given to the city by the city engineers, the stormwater engineers, the traffic engineers, and the city planners as well. As some of our folks indicated, there are other sites that are nearby that might accommodate a fire station. I'm not suggesting that the city look at those sites, but perhaps make an adjustment to this site, because this site, by their own volition, is just too small to accommodate this large of a building and the operations associated with this large of a building. The Planning Commission voted 3 in favor and 2 opposed. The 2 opposed did not indicate why they objected or did not support the zoning relief.
Sir,
But I
your
would
3
submit
minutes
to
are
you,
up.
I would submit to you that the reasons I
Thank
laid
you, sir.
out are the reasons why. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start our agenda. I'm going to move around the agenda just a little bit, the first 2 items, and I'm going to skip down to 2520 as well. I'm going to go ahead and read the first, can I read the first 3 items altogether?
Yes, please.
Okay, and then we will have some discussion. So item number 24-0519, an ordinance establishing a conditional use plan development and approving the Wheatland Athletic Association plan description for the property located at 2323 Liberty Street. Item number 24-0521, an ordinance vacating a detention easement on the property located at 2323 Liberty Street in DuPage County, Aurora, Illinois, 60502. And item number 24-0520, a resolution approving a final plan for the property located at 2323 Liberty Street for the special purpose recreational institution use.
Good afternoon, Ed Sieben, Zoning and Planning Director. Hello, everyone. So as Chairwoman Smith indicated, there's 3 cases for this property, but really in a nutshell, this is, we have the landscape plan on the screen, that kind of, I think, the best picture of it. Liberty, north is to the right, so Liberty Street runs up and down, and then Wolverine is on the bottom there going south. Wheatland Athletic Association, they're a sports training facility. They've been on the property since 1995. The city subsequently annexed the property and zoned it ORI. So what we're really doing is we're cleaning up the zoning. The conditional use plan development is to allow for the special purpose recreation use, and what they're proposing is a expansion. The current building is about 29,000 square foot. The kind of the square to the south there, to the left of the building on the drawing, is a 14,000 square foot addition. Primarily, that's going to be for some batting cage training type facilities. They currently have a large soccer field on the south side, which would be the left side of the drawing, with lights that have been there for a long time. As part of this, they're going to be redoing the entire turf of that. The lights will stay the same. They're adding new stormwater detention, which wraps around on the west and south side, which would be the top and the left of that drawing. And then more importantly, they, because the addition is going on a site where some of their parking is, they're reconfiguring the parking. That's that darker gray, that's all new parking. And that will then create a loop system where you can enter and exit on Liberty like you do now, but right now, everyone has to turn around in that tight area and come back on Liberty. This will allow for a loop, because a lot of the kids that go here are dropped off by parents. So this will allow for a loop to drop off and then exit onto Wolverine, let's say. So all that parking is new. They will have 111 parking spaces. They've provided a detailed qualifying statement that went over their operations to indicate for the majority of the time, this will be plenty of parking for what they do. They can explain that a little bit further. The other thing we did was in the green is the new landscaping. We did, because this is kind of a hybrid development, it's not a brand-new green grass, it's a partial development. So we work with them on placing the landscaping really where it does the best use. South side, you have Legacy Fields to the south. To the west or the top, there's actually an industrial property that's unincorporated DuPage County. So we really didn't feel we needed to add some of that required material there. We asked that some of that material be put as, I think it's 10 trees along Wolverine there where there aren't any. They've added a few trees for the new parking, and then, of course, we added some landscaping where it does the most good on the south side there on the left, which would buffer Legacy Fields. So we feel it's a good plan. The vacation of the easement is for detention easement, so they do have to modify where that stormwater is going to be, so they have to do a slight vacation of that. So we have a conditional use plan development. We have a final plan to approve the site plan, and then the vacation of the stormwater easement. If there's any questions of staff, otherwise the
Do we have any
petitioners are here.
questions? Questions? No questions? I just went through the facts from the hearing, just, from, I guess, public comment there. It looks like you guys have addressed everything as far as, the concerns of lighting, signage, noise, hours of operation, parking. It looks like everything has been addressed, so I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be moving this forward.
You guys
So
want
moved.
to say anything?
Petitioner like to,
Sure. Good afternoon, Ken. My name is Ray Mikowski. I represent Wheatland Athletic Association. We have our CEO here, Lisa McClellan, our Director of Fields, Tom Spica, and our architects, John Swerk, and his assistant, Mike McDowell. And John will answer any questions that you may have. I think we concur with most of he has said, but any details, John will fill you in.
Sure. Mr. Stephen did a great job. I'm John Swerk,
Thank you.
S-W-I-E-R-K, President of DDCA Architects. Mr. Stephen did a great job. If you read the minutes from the planning and zoning, the one thing that we were kind of not wanting to do was the trees on Wolverine. We've agreed to do what you see on the plan in front of you. So if that has anything to do with, if you read those minutes, we're good with the landscape plan presented and worked with staff on that. If you have any other questions, I'm here, but it was a pretty good overview.
Alderman Donnell.
So I'm looking at the map, overall map, and Wolverine doesn't appear to be completed to the south. And what is that use, and I didn't get a chance to look at this one, what is the use to the east?
So Wolverine is completed to the south. That goes into the Liberty Meadows townhome development that was done last year.
Okay.
And to the east is a warehouse. That was the old, was it Twin Oaks Vending was in there? Kurt Becker's place used to be there. So that's what that used to be.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions? Someone made a motion, and I apologize. Okay, Alderman Franco motioned, second by Alderman Donnell. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? These items, I'm going to read them one, not the numbers, just one more time, and we're going to motion on each one of them individually. My apologies. 25-0519, we have a motion and a second, and we have 5-0 that to move forward. Item number 24-0521, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Alderman, motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Seville. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That item moves forward. And item number 24-0520, a motion, please.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Seville. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That item also moves forward 5-0. So we understand we had a little glitch when we started out, but there's, everything from here out should be smooth sailing, so thank you. We're going to move on to the next item on our agenda. I'm going to do the same thing. There's 3 items to be read together. Item number 24-0566, an ordinance annexing property being vacant land located at the southeast corner of Bilter Road and Nan Street to the city of Aurora, Illinois 60502, an ordinance establishing a conditional use plan development and approving the Aurora Fire Station number 13 plan description for the property located at the southeast corner of Bilter Road and Nan Street, and item number 24-0568, a resolution approving a final plan for the property located at the southeast corner of Bilter Road and Nan Street for the public facilities and service use.
Want me to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Alex Alexandru, Chief Management Officer and Chief of Staff. Before staff goes into these items in detail, I just wanted to give a very high-level overview of how we got to this point and what the process has entailed and what the future holds for the Aurora Fire Department and our community. So as you are aware, the council had approved I think a few years ago, a site study to go out and look at the entire city, the current layout of our existing fire departments, and given the growth of the city over the years, update and make recommendations for not just response time, but where additional fire stations were recommended and warranted. And so that study came back. 2015, the city had acquired the property at Nan and Bilter with the express intent to put a fire station there. The study, along with the growth that has occurred to date and what is planned for that area, absolutely warrants a fire station there. Our obligation, as you all know, is to public safety. As the city grows and as it has grown north of 88, that has really been our most robust growth, but where we have the most challenges with response time, especially during certain times of day with traffic and the location of the closest fire station. So as you're aware, we have budgeted and we are well underway a multi-departmental team led by the mayor's office, Fire Chief McCabe and his staff, Chris Minnick, our CFO, Ed, zoning, and our planning department. It's a whole group of folks working on building 3 fire stations. The one that's going to be at on Indian Trail, which will complete the sort of public safety campus. That will be a larger fire station combined with EMA. And then 2 smaller, more efficient fire stations, one at Nan and Bilter and the other at a property we acquired down on the 300 block of Eola, I think it is.
That's coming up.
Yeah, that's coming up. So we have selected 2 architects, Cordigan and Clark is designing the one on Indian Trail next to the police station, and FGM is here represented today, designing the other 2. We have spent many hours, a lot of research, a lot of field trips, talking to other communities who have, and we selected FGM in part for their expertise in this type of design and fire station. So it represents, and you will see as the matter unfolds, and we get down to finalizing the design, you will see that comes out in the design. The design fits the site. It plug both locations, this one and Neola, will fill a significant gap in our present response time. And so let me just remind everyone also why Bilter and Nan is so crucial for us. First of all, we have the outlet mall, which attracts 8 million visitors a year. So some of those visitors are also Aurora residents. So regardless if you're an Aurora resident, a township resident, somebody coming from out of town, police and fire have the same obligation to provide for their well-being, health, and safety. So adding this location there supports the fire and EMS needs, or the demand, I should say, for the outlet mall. Now let's turn to what's being developed across the street from the outlet mall, the new Hollywood Casino Resort property, which, as you all are aware, will have a hotel, casino, restaurants, and an event center. That needs specific public safety, including fire response. Now you go to the east of the outlet mall. Several years ago, this council approved the purchase of the 50 acres on Bilter Road. So what is planned for Bilter Road is a mix of sports facility, residential, hotel, and restaurant retail. We are also, again with council approval, acquiring properties on the north side of Bilter. Once those are acquired, a request for proposal will go out for additional market rate residential. And so the demand and the growth of these types of uses demand public safety upgrade. And so this station is strategic. It also will help in the jurisdiction of Aurora. We have responsibility to respond on the tollway at times. And so this will also assist with that. We decided, because we're building 3 fire stations, this one, I think originally, and I could be wrong, Jason, we talked about this may have a little training component. I forget if it was this one or the other one. It was this one, thank you. So we decided, we invested that use in the new central fire, we're calling it, which is Station 4, thank you, on Indian Trail rather than here. So removing that use there will also reduce other firemen and personnel going there for training, technically, because they will go to the one on Indian Trail. So I'm going to turn it over to Ed to go over some of the details, but I'm available. Jason from FGM is available. I think there's representation from the battalion chief as well, or assistant chief, sorry, to answer any questions. Whatever you'd like, Madam Chairman.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and listen to Mr.
Perfect.
Seaman first, and then
Thank
we'll
you.
go through questions.
Thank you, Alex. Madam Chair. So this is, again, 3 items, 2 of them similar to last case. We have a request for a conditional use plan development. We have a request for approval of a final plan. And finally, because this property is not annexed yet, it would be for the annexation of the subject property. So this, we keep hearing about this as a small property. This is a pretty large property. It's 2.5 acres. There is right-of-way dedication that is being dedicated for the improvements of Bilter Road. That's up to 20 feet up on top. So what the conditional use plan development is requesting, with some exceptions to the bulk requirements. Again, no variances, it's exceptions to the bulk requirements, which is a little bit of a different animal. But it would be to take it down to, at the minimum, 11 feet at the north end. That's just to the left of the exit there onto Bilter. At the closest point, that parking area is about 11 feet due to the right-of-way dedication of up to 20 feet. And then to the rear, it's as low as 8.5 feet at the southern parking lot. I put up the landscape plan just to show you the amount of landscaping. This is a lot of landscaping that's being done. Also, while the setbacks to the north and south at their lowest point are at that 11 and 8.5, it's about 80 feet from Nan, and that's the direction of most of the residential homes, for example, across the street. It's about 80 feet there. There's also going to be a 6-foot solid wood fence along that south property line, which is kind of that dark line there. The proposal is for a, I think it's a 19,000 plus square foot fire station. It'll have 8 bays. They're in tandem, 4 top, 4 behind. All the emergency equipment, when they're on a call, will exit north onto Bilter Road. The 2 access points on Nan are really when they come back in. They would probably come in on the bottom and then pull through. Also, any employee, fire people would also come in with their vehicles to park in the parking lot. That's really it in a nutshell. We have Alex. Alex has one more.
Excuse me, 2 more things I forgot. Number 1 is we purposely designed this to minimize any negative impact to any residential around, hence the design where the bay doors are farthest away. The equipment, as Ed mentioned, would exit right out onto Bilter, and when they come back, they don't have lights or sirens. They have 2 ways of getting in. And again, the calls are random. They're not, it's not going to be a constant in and out. And I forgot the second thing I was going to say.
Can I just add one
Go ahead.
thing? There was a comment about fire stations in residential areas. 5 of our 8 are in residential areas. I believe our last new fire station was fire station number 7 on Kenilworth, which is right in the middle of a residential neighborhood. And I'm not aware that we've had any complaints or issues with the fire station there. I would think it would be a benefit for that area.
And I'm sorry, I just remembered. We are moving forward with this now because we would like to have this up and ready prior to the casino resort opening up. And so the timing here is critical to keep this moving. And this is out to bid, correct, Jason? Yes, sir. Yeah, so that's the timing. We would like this to be open before the casino in May of '26, roughly. Thank you.
Can I add just one more thing before you ask a question?
One more.
So there was a comment about the vote was 3-2 in favor. There was also a vote 5-0 in favor to accept the findings of fact. The findings of fact, which justify the conditional use plan development, were all stated in the affirmative, and all 5 planning commissioners at the meeting voted to approve that, and they were stated in the affirmative. So I just want to throw that.
Okay. Before we go to question, I want to ask, and I'm not sure who's qualified to know the answer to this question. I know it was told to us a couple years ago when we first started this. What is the current response time to the furthest point in the northern part of our city? The point that we're now trying to cover? Because I can remember that response time being very significant compared to the rest of the city, which is why these 2 areas of these 2 new facilities have been chosen. It was quite significant to get out to very far north.
I know that I think I recently saw an average response time, but I know that the response time here was higher than average.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it's much higher than average. Mike Kaufman, Assistant Fire Chief, Support Services for our fire department. The closest ladder trucks, and that's what I'll get into. And there's an engine company up there, but if you're talking about ladder trucks and we're talking about ambulances, the response time is significant because the current closest ladder trucks come from A, the Fox Valley Mall to that location, or B, downtown Aurora, right here by the casino, to get all the way up to that location. So the Truck 14, which we've just put in service the beginning of this week, will run out of that station, therefore covering that entire northern area, which is going to significantly reduce response times, probably at least cut it in half. I don't have exact numbers. I'm happy to get them for you, but that gives you some idea of the geographical response areas there. It's tremendous.
And I do remember when you were choosing these locations, it was not on where we had land, it was on where the need was, response time need.
100%. We
Yes.
ran a PUG, it was called PUG Ugly study.
Yes, it was really cool.
It's a
Yeah.
strange name, but it was a fantastic study to reach out and figure out where exactly those stations should be located. And what we found really was that Station 9 has been erroneously kind of located in a not so fantastic area since it was built back in '94. So by moving that station down Eola Road and locating this new station up there by the outlet mall, it's going to cover our bases much better, allowing for much better response time for our citizens.
For the safety of our citizens. Okay,
Absolutely,
I'm
and
gonna-
that's the
we'll
bottom
Put
line.
it out, too. Questions? Alderman Donnell, did you want to go first?
Yeah, Fire Station 7 is located approximately 2.5 to 3 blocks from my home. It is a new station, newer style station. Unfortunately, we weren't able to pull through, so we had some lot restrictions there as well. But I will tell you, the response I get from my neighbors and constituents is they're very excited about having an ambulance in the neighborhood. And frankly, I don't hear the sirens, so I think it was a very positive thing for us, over in the Fourth Ward.
Yes, the city has long recognized the need for a fire station in this area of the city because of the because of the response time potentially that could occur if, for example, the bridges were inaccessible during a major catastrophe or an emergency, and there'd be nobody able to get into this area from where the current fire stations are. So I think we've recognized the need for this in the area. The question has been, until we purchase this land, where do we put it? And there was several locations looked at the time, and then this ultimately was decided upon. With the amount of land that we do own in the area, was there any reason to look at any other of the lands that we own with regard to moving it in an area away from potential homes?
So as I said at the beginning, the other properties we own are slated for the commercial development or residential development. And so the idea being, since we own this property and it had the proximity it does to everything else that's going on, the decision was made to continue as the original intent was in 2015 for this property, to put this version of a fire station that we're also building on Eola. So we're getting the economy of scale and fitting this, especially the proximity off of Bilter to go west as well to cover the casino.
But that was also done before we are in the process of purchasing those homes on Bilter. We didn't know we were going to be doing that at the time.
That's correct. But we've taken that into account now. And so rather than take up part of a development property for this, we're putting it here on this property we've owned since 2015.
Okay. And are there any, the type of public improvements along Nan Street? It's curb and gutter, and I see there's sidewalk outlined there, is that correct?
Yes, Brian or Jason can answer that question, but because Nan Street will be fully under the Aurora's jurisdiction to the south property line, we are looking at doing improvements, curb and gutter, sidewalk. With the comment, they haven't been final engineered yet. We do want to respect the neighbors across the street, so there's no really negative impact on their property. So it hasn't been finalized yet, but it will be improved.
And the Nan Street is currently in the township, is that correct?
Correct.
And
yes.
we're going to be annexing the whole part of that street?
Just
the
that
half?
section of Nan to the south side of this.
And, yes.
Just the part adjacent to the city property that the fire station.
And are we putting improvements in the Ann Street
Yes.
to handle the weight of the vehicles if the council chooses to move
Can you
forward?
please provide us with your name?
Brian Witkowski, Engineering Department, City of Aurora. Yes, the southern entrance will be heavy-duty pavement for the vehicles returning. It's always preferred to pull through the garage than it is to back up equipment into the the entrance off of Bilter. So that pavement will be heavy-duty pavement, and the roadway is going to be improved for that purpose.
Both sides?
Yeah, yes, the entire width of Nan Street
Right.
will be new roadway.
Okay.
And the Bilter project, which is a separate project, will also be improving Bilter through this area as well.
Okay.
I have a question. So will those street improvements be completed prior to the building of the station? Because there was some concerns about the narrowing of the street and the trucks coming up and down the
So
street.
we discussed this internally multiple times, but the Nan Street improvements will be part of the fire station improvements, just for the purpose that you stated, so that they will be done at the same time that the station, or they'll be opened at the same time the station is open.
Okay, and you guys addressed the concern from residents about the fit on the land. How about the concern of the fire trucks coming on and off of Bilter Road? Is that a concern for you?
I don't believe it's a concern. I mean, when they're coming in and when they're leaving, that's the fire response.
Right.
So they will be pulling, they're not pulling onto Nan, they're not blocking Nan, they're coming off and out onto Bilter.
Thank you, Jason.
Jason Estes, FGM Architects, architect for both stations 13 and 9s for the city. So our civil engineer provided and completed turning radius diagrams for the fire apparatus, specifically dealing with the worst case scenario, which is obviously the ladder truck that the assistant chief was talking about. The response coming through allows for that return at the southern portion of the property to enter the rear of the bays. As Alex said, basically primary emergency response is directly north out of the bays to Bilter. That front access drive is for visitors as well as emergency vehicle response coming back if they needed to back into the station. It's ideal that they do not, but other pieces of apparatus, dependent upon response, may hinder that operation, and we always want to make sure that anybody can get out of the station at all times because time is of the essence.
Okay.
So all radiuses have been completed, and there's no concern in terms of site access off of Nan or Bilter onto the site.
And we know when these vehicles are coming out of the garage, they're coming out with sirens going and lights going, so people will be aware that they're heading onto the street. They're not just flying out there with no warning.
I can't comment in terms of that. I'll let the assistant chief, but I do know that.
No comment necessary, it's a fact.
No, I was going to say that in terms of the coming out lights and sirens, not always sirens. That's a procedural thing. That they need to be able to talk in their operations. But in addition to that, we are providing additional warning on Bilter that would be set back in both directions, approximately 450, 500 feet. We're still working in terms of the distance based upon the speed, that you would have flashing warning lights that would help give additional notice to traffic when they are discharging. Those would be done and completed in terms of working with the Opticon system. That is typically the system that triggers traffic lights and things like that within the city. But I'll leave it to the assistant chief to talk about operations.
Was that in our packet? I don't recall reading that, and I've read through this pretty significantly. Because that's a pretty important.
It
fact
was
right there.
noted during the last finding
Okay.
meeting that we were in, but it is something that we are actually going to be putting here at Station 13 as well as on Eola
Yeah.
at Station 9s.
So we may want to add that into our packet before COW, because I think that's a pretty significant piece for the other aldermen to know, that those warning lights to be.
And if I can add, there, in the design, there's also going to be appropriate warning signage, street markings, just like you see, for example, in our other fire stations where vehicular traffic is warned in advance per the traffic code, but also there's pavement markings so that in certain areas, cars don't back up to block the exit driveway. Just to piggyback on something that Alderman Donnell said, I've been with the city almost 25 years. We have 5 stations that are in residential areas. I cannot remember one time that we've ever fielded a complaint about having a fire station in a neighborhood. In fact, what has happened over time, and I've observed it personally, and I think maybe some of you who have fire stations in your wards, in neighborhoods is the fire station and the crew almost become a part of that neighborhood. And so you'll see them volunteering for people. You'll see them clearing snow from seniors. You'll see them helping out. And regardless, we've had longstanding relationship. I think, Chief, we have agreements, mutual aid agreements with our township residents, the township fire districts and that. So we're the first responders regardless. And so I think there is no reason whatsoever to believe that this station is going to be any different than any of our other neighborhood fire stations that have become a positive force in their respective neighborhoods.
Any more questions from the committee? Alderwoman Bate.
Thank you, Chairwoman. How many apparatuses will be parked here all the time, approximately?
So there'll be 3 frontline apparatus running out of that station. We'll have an ambulance, an engine, and a ladder truck. There'll be a few reserve vehicles that we kind of store there, but there'll be 3 running out of that station at all times.
And if we compare to Station 8, how many are there?
The same amount, 3.
Same amount.
Yep.
And Nan Street is a dead end?
It is a dead end to the south, correct. It dead ends to the back of the outlet mall.
Okay, and also when the trucks are leaving, mostly the sound will not be on if they're...
So, yeah, I can speak a little bit to that. I piggyback off Alex. It's the fire department, we understand that we're part of that neighborhood, right? And we try to always be good neighbors. And from that perspective, when we go on a call, any kind of a run, our operations are, we turn the lights on and we pull out of the station. And if it's necessary to use sirens, we use sirens. If it is 3 in the morning and the ambulance turns their lights on and pulls out of that garage onto Bilter Road and there's nobody on Bilter, we're certainly not even going to turn the siren on at that point. They'd turn on to Bilter, they'd proceed to their call until we got to some vehicle traffic and need to alert them that there is an emergency vehicle coming. So sirens are not one of those things that we go blaring around the neighborhood. We use them when necessary to warn oncoming traffic. So.
And one of the residents brought up the concern about Black Friday. So do the shoppers park in Nan Street?
Yeah, I can't speak on that. What was the concern? I'm sorry.
The resident is unable to enter their home because
because of
traffic
people parking back there?
and traffic too.
And
on
traffic,
Bilter.
okay. I guess I can only speak from my perspective. The only reason we're gonna be using Nan Street and we wouldn't be parking on Nan Street, we're just simply, after a call, pulling onto Nan just to pull back into our facility. And the reason we do that is because anytime at any kind of a event or a call that we're at, if we can move the vehicle forward, we would always choose to do that rather than backing up. Backing up a big ladder truck like that, or an engine, or an ambulance for that matter, always requires spotters per our operations, and it brings in problems that you could potentially hit something, not see somebody, so we always prefer to pull in forward. So that's why we've designed the station to come in off of Nan, pull in to the backside of the station, and pull through to face out on Bilter again for the next run.
And once the Nan Street is fixed, it will be able to handle the trucks.
I would assume that would, yeah.
Yes, the improvements on Nan are to handle the weight loads that would be standard underneath any heavy vehicle loading. And that was a decision by the city, again, because of the damage that would be probably encountered on Nan from the returning emergency vehicles from calls.
I can just add, Nan is not under the city's jurisdiction, it's township jurisdiction. So if there are vehicles illegally parking there at any time, that's not the city's. I would ask the residents to contact the township. On Black Friday, we know over the years that there have been improvements. We have tried every year to work with the outlet mall and APD. I can tell you I've never also heard that we've ever prohibited a resident from going back to their home. I will certainly bring that up to APD. So I'm sure there's a workaround for that, but I just have never heard that until today, that we're apparently telling folks they can't get back to their home. So we've constantly made traffic and parking improvements to support the outlet mall. We will continue to do so. So I really, again, don't see how this is germane to putting a fire station there, that's going to add somehow to traffic. But again, we heard the comments, and we'll go back and see what we can do going forward.
Any further questions from the committee?
I just want to make one comment.
Yes.
Piggybacking on what Mr. Alexander said, I have Fire Station Ward 10, or in Fire Station 10 and Ward 5. Not once have I ever got a complaint about, because they're right across the street from neighbors. Never got a complaint about that. What the chief said about pulling out with lights and those sirens is absolutely true. I see them all the time going down the streets. When there's nobody in the streets, there's no sirens going on, it's just the lights. So really, pretty much the neighbors like that being there, so it's kind of nice to have it. So again, no complaints with that at all.
Okay, if we are finished, I'm going to go through these items one at a time as we vote on them. Thank you, all of you. Okay, item number 240566, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Franco, a second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Donnell, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That item moves forward 5-0. Item number 240567, motion?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Seville, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion moves forward 5-0. And item number 240568, a motion, please?
So moved.
A motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Seville. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that, all opposed? That item also moves forward 5-0. Thank you so much. The next item on our agenda is 24-0679, a resolution authorizing the purchase to case 921 GXR wheel loader with attachments from McCain Industries in the amount of $945,400 for the execution of a relative agreement in the state, a related agreement with the state. My apologies.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. Steve Andrus with the Aurora Municipal Airport. As you stated, this is actually quite simple. It's the purchase of 2 wheel loaders that will be used out at the airport, which Alderman Donnell is passing a photo around.
Yes, for pictures.
So you can see what it looks like, but they will be used for snow removal out at the airport. They will be mounted with either snow blower or plows. They'll be used for not necessarily the runways, but perhaps taxiways and the ramp areas. We got a good price on it, and I guess maybe the most important part of this is that 90% of the purchase cost will be covered by the feds.
Nice.
5% state, and of course 5% local. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I do have a question, because it's
Sure.
a question that we get asked by each vehicle that we purchase in the last year or so. Is this come in, you think I'm joking, but is this have an electric portion
understand.
of this vehicle?
No,
And
this will be diesel powered.
Okay.
And we need a lot of power to move a lot of snow. Perhaps I have some pretty good pictures of some of our operations out there. And if you saw those pictures, you would say, oh, yes, we do need
Oh,
something
no, I
quite
don't doubt, but
substantial.
I just want to make sure that we have covered all of our bases, that if we indeed could get something that was green, that was electric powered, that we would have looked into it, the possibilities of it, just so that we make sure we're covering that base.
Question.
Yes.
So I just want to
Alderman
make sure I
Franco.
got the math right on this. Federal government's paying 90% of 945, or since we're allowed 1.7, they're doing the whole thing because we're only at 945? I mean, I kind of know, but I just want to make sure I got that right.
So with respect to the math, I think I completely understand the question. Also, there was a truck that was bid during this bid process, and they couldn't guarantee a price, and they couldn't tell us when it could be built or delivered. so we abandoned that specific vehicle. So we would have had 3 pieces of equipment, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think if you're referring to a larger number that we were actually approved for, that doesn't necessarily matter. We're only gonna buy 2 pieces of equipment. Whatever that total cost is, there'll be some plow blades and some blowers, things like that. We'll be paying 5% of that total cost.
So even though we're allowed at 1.7, if it's much less, we're still only getting 90% of what we
It's still a
spend.
percentage.
Right, I just want to make sure, because I
Yes.
didn't, well, that's great, it covers the whole thing, it's
Yeah,
at
no, I
1.7.
thought that too,
90% of
but
that is, 1.5,
dice,
so, okay, I
right.
just want to make sure. That's what I thought it was. I didn't think the government was going to give us carte blanche, but I just want to make sure on the math. Okay,
Correct.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Seville. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That item moves forward 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 240675, an ordinance approving a revision of the special sign district for Chicago Premium Outlet Mall located at 1650 Premium Outlets Boulevard.
Good afternoon again, Ed Sieben. So this proposal, Jill's pulling it up right now. That would probably be the best shot there. What's being proposed is, this is a revision to the existing special sign district. A number of years ago, the Premium Outlet Mall, I believe it was around 2014, did the current updated pylon signs compared to what they had originally put in back in 2002. They decided to just do what you see as the black part, which was really the ID for the Simon Chicago Premium Outlets. You could see there's kind of metal decorative kind of panels below the black sign there on the pylons. Originally, they were looking at maybe doing electronic signage under there. They decided to pull that back. So what they've come back for now is they request to put some individual static tenant panels in those areas just to help bring out and identify some of the major retailers that they have at the center. As you know, right now they have a bunch of them up on the pillar type sections of the building. So this would be to take those pylon signs and add up to 6 tenant identification panels to the overall shopping center sign below the gateway signs. It would be at the entrance on the north side of the mall and also the ones along the tollway. So Joe's showing you an example of what that would be. Aurora Sign Company is the contractor. We do have a representative here. If you have any specific questions on that or for staff.
Any questions from the committee?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Seville, second by Alderman Franco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That item does move forward 5-0. And we're going to go forward with the next 2 items. that are
Yes,
on hold,
please.
Correct? So
We were waiting for the other one to catch up.
Okay, so we will read the next 2 items, the last 2 items together. Item number 240569, a resolution approving the final plot for Aurora Fire Station Number 9 subdivision located at 7 South 300 Eola Road, 24-0570, a resolution approving the final plan for Lot 1 of Fire Station Number 9 subdivision located at 7 South 300 Eola Road for the public facilities and services uses.
Thank you. So this property previously went through Plan Commission. This was not a public hearing process for this because the property is zoned O office that does allow for the fire station. This is simply for a final plan to approve the site plan, associated landscape plan, building elevations, et cetera, and plat. There's actually 2 lots on this, so they'll be consolidating it into 1 lot. This station is slightly smaller than the one you just saw. This one is going to be 17,600 square foot. This does meet all the requirements of the O district regarding setbacks and things like that. Joe, maybe if you want to put on the landscape plan just to show what that is going to be. You can see the property is, again, heavily landscaped. There is residential to the west, but that is a large setback buffer and detention pond in the back. Across the street, Jill, maybe if you can go to the aerial to give a perspective where exactly this is. This is on the north side of some commercial uses. Give us 1 second. Maybe that. So this is immediately north of the shopping center where Paulie's Pub is, and then there's a small medical office immediately south of this. And then across the street is the landscape business, which is south of Weber Road. So there's a perspective of where this is located, a little bit north of New York Street. Yes. Jason is here, and the deputy chief, if there's any questions.
Question?
Alderman Donnell.
Couple of questions. I have pulled up the renderings of the exterior of the fire station within our packet. Is that going to be the appearance for both this station and the one at Nan?
Yeah, sorry, we didn't pull up the other one, but I believe it's similar.
Jason Estes, FGM Architects. Yes, the exterior on both of Station 9 and 13 are very similar, just as Ed stated, Station 13 is slightly larger. We were designing them to be efficient and cost-effective so that we're reusing a lot of details and that there is a consolidation of kind of a feel. They're both going to be built at the same time, so we took advantage of that with the designs.
Yeah, and we kind of have a history of doing that.
You do.
The other question, and I think I see it on the plan, might be an Ed question. I know there's a median there that I think is going to have to be modified to get the trucks out.
You can probably, yeah, that's Jason.
Yes, so again, Eola at that point falls under county. We have been working with county, and that median would be modified and adjusted accordingly so that we can gain access in either direction, north or south on Eola. And that would occur at both entrances, which would be the emergency discharge on the south, which is the bays, as well as the return drive on the north.
Alderman Franco.
So I had a question for the chief. It's an easy one. A while back when we were talking about all these fire stations, we had a nice map of where they're all going to go, like, you know, we could see them. Could we get that for COW just again, to show us where they are? It's kind of neat to see how they're positioned. You know, we saw it a couple of years ago, but I'd like to see it again. If you could throw that in there.
Yeah, sure. You're talking about a map with the new stations in their new spots, or a current map of where they're at?
New spots, just to give us an overview, because it's kind of nice to say, okay, we got them here. It's
And
just,
do you want it
know, for
all
visual.
existing? You want
Pardon?
all existing?
Well, the ones where we're going to end up, the future.
Okay, so it'd be the 3 new ones?
The 3 new ones, in addition to the ones we already have, you could do that, so we could say, okay, I just want to take a look and see how our fire stations are located.
Sure.
More of like a curiosity thing than anything
Sure,
else.
absolutely. No,
Okay.
we can put something like that together. I can talk to GIS and have them.
Yeah, I think we had seen that once before, but it's been a long time, and I don't know where the data is, so if we could do that again, it'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
And in addition to that, I think the discussion of response time, again, is important, especially if we have people in the far north that are not necessarily happy with where one of the stations is going. If we can get them to understand, it's about response time. It's not about land that we have. It's
Yeah,
about- it's
absolutely. I'll
about
get those
their
numbers together for
safety.
COW, and that way we'll have them. And I can kind of run a little comparison of where we're at now and where we're going to be once those vehicles are put into service.
And are you finished?
I am finished.
So, kind of a question, you know, I know that we had some conversation about the trucks going out on Bilta Road. Oh my goodness, going out on Eola Road, we're talking about
may need their sirens.
whole different animal there. So that is Bilta Road on steroids. Opening up that median is something I believe is necessary for, you know, for the fire station, but I think it's also going to open up some chaos for the people driving up and down Eola Road. So I think we got to be somewhat careful with that, because if anybody spent any time on that particular portion of Eola Road or anything on Eola Road, it is a very, very, very highly trafficked road. And again, I would like to see you put in the packet about those caution lights so that people understand when they're coming up, because I, for the life of me, since we've been talking about this, am very curious to see how this whole thing is going to come out. I love the location of it. I think it's great. I think the residents are going to be happy with it. But Yolo Road is probably, it's way busier than Orchard Road. Yeah, well, it is. Ask the guys that did the study. So.
We were going to.
They get more space.
As stated, we were going to put the warning signals, preemptive warning signals here on Eola as well, so that again, via Opticon system, which is on the trucks, we would trigger the pre-notice for warning of traffic. In addition, you'll see the station further back from the road than was on 13, and that was on purpose. We were trying to give all full access and view as much as we can so that we can give the drivers and the emergency response team more time to see traffic as well as traffic to see their lights. And that was part of the landscape. If you look at it, the landscape requirements were pretty substantial, but you'll see that we pretty much got rid of a lot of the trees on the front of the property specifically to open up the views, specifically for the driver on the emergency discharge, and that's why the back of the property looks like a forest with the amount of trees that we put on the site. So we're covering the trees on the site in other locations to meet the landscape requirement, only because of the cone of vision on the emergency discharge because of that concern on Eola.
And I'm sure you looked at this about and it's a property issue about running, what would that be, south or north, behind it and out to Liberty versus coming right out to Yale Road?
Well, this property is several lots south of Liberty,
Yeah,
so
it
that's
is,
the problem.
it is, yeah, it's a
Plus, there's
land issue.
There's, I believe, a detention pond
Yes.
for the subdivision on the north of this.
There is
too.
a detention pond and a berm, correct? And you're going to be adding trees to help. Any further questions? Yes, Alderwoman Bay.
So this location is north of Subway?
North of, I'm sorry, north of?
It's north of New York Road, right?
Correct, yes.
So I was driving for this meeting, and there was a house on fire right now, and there were a lot
Where
of
they
fire
used
trucks.
it.
Is
that
it
the
a training
house?
or?
That, as a matter of fact, that's the lot. Because
Yeah.
we're training on it today. We're burning
Oh,
that.
okay.
We're burning that down.
And that's
Yeah.
why the whole area was.
Yeah, it's not like it's a bad
Backed
omen.
up
Like, don't
and-
build anything here. We're doing it on
It looked
purpose, actually,
really serious,
today.
and there were 4
Yeah.
fire
That's
engines.
funny.
Yeah. So it's nice because when we get
That's
those
why
old.
she was late.
Yeah, when we get those old houses, we get a chance to train our guys in them and do some cool stuff like that. So it's very beneficial
It
for our
looked very
department.
dangerous. It
Yeah.
wasn't a cool
Yeah.
site at all.
That's the place. Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
And
Thank
that
you.
house
And
wa-
that means
yeah.
we.
Yeah. That house was an eyesore anyway, so there's some good coming out of this. Any further
Thank you.
questions?
So moved.
All right, well,
Second.
I'm going to go,
Okay.
okay, so moved for item number 240569 by Alderman Franco, second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It moves forward 4-0. Item number 240570.
So moved.
Motioned by
Second.
Alderman Franco, second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that item also moves forward to 5-0. If we could note that Alderman Seville has left the room about 10 minutes ago. No need for a closed session. Motion to adjourn? please.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.